So
I
your
have to say it's hard to condense everything because it's such a...
sure. I
It's
mean,
such
you
like
talked
a...
for a long time, so people are. I think they get what you're trying to say.
Yeah. I think,
Or
but it's also
are you
hard.
people? Psst, listen. If anyone doesn't get what she's saying, please answer now. Nothing. See, I think everyone gets it.
Yeah, but I think it's just hard to like describe a toxic relationship, and you can't really do it in a short
Obviously,
time.
but mine
because-
is a little similar. So,
Okay.
so I was also having like a practicum from
Internship?
from my study of bachelor's what is it called, degree.
Mhm.
So in the last semester, I had to like do like a 3 to 6 month internship at like a business that fit our profile in terms of what we want to do later, and that also fit obviously what we were studying. And so I went with that like local movie, video, motion picture thing company. I would say it's like, yeah, it was a lot of different things, but mostly video stuff. So like corporate videos and image films and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, it started out pretty nice. The first like couple of meetings were nice, and I took the job pretty fast because it was convenient. It was located in Linz, so a short drive. Even though in hindsight, I should have taken something else, but I don't know. It felt right at the time, and it felt exciting, and the guy seemed super nice, and he was nice. Not that he is not nice, but he yeah. I don't know. It's kind of similar to you. So he basically told me a lot of things that weren't true or weren't not really true, and there was a lot of things said that didn't turn out the way they were described or portrayed, and also the weird things about people working there, not really working there, or leaving shortly after I started. And technically, I started with one other person, and that person basically left like a week later.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I was still thinking a little bit like, okay, why? And then like 2 weeks later, I knew why. And yeah. So basically, the first time I was like, okay, I'm there. I'm not alone there, so it's not super hard to just, keep going because you're together in this, and you can, if you're together in something, it's not as bad. But then I was alone, and I don't know, it all crumbled kind of. And all of a sudden, I was the intern who worked, I don't know, 50 to 60 hours a week, even though I tried to make it, and also it was made clear that like there were work hours every day, and if there was not like a shoot that took like a whole day or more than 2 days, then you weren't supposed to be, or I wasn't supposed to be in there that long. But that also basically wasn't true, because if I wanted to leave early, then I got screamed at and said, okay, that's not the work ethic he wants me to portray. And if I want to work in that field, I need to show more like I don't know, effort in that way, and I need to stay longer. I need to work over hours. I need to do all those things he thought that are necessary for me to work in that field and to be successful in that field. He was constantly telling me how shitty I do my stuff, that I'm really bad at things, that he told me constantly things like, okay, you have to come to me with stuff, or like during the day we have one like a meeting and we go through all that stuff, then we don't have to constantly like go back and forth. Things like that never really worked for multiple reasons, and I was always to blame for that. Yeah, I don't know. It was super hard because I was super excited to work in that field. I had super exciting projects. During the best days, I had a lot of fun, especially with other people, like collaborating and working on a project together, shooting, etc. There were a lot of different things that made it really special and profound. And for me, I learned a lot from that, the whole thing in terms of working. But the whole the whole experience got like basically shit faced by the boss, the one person who I don't know. It was really hard because he is a really nice person, and I admire him because he I don't know, he has this really I don't know, good way with people in terms of like customers, and he just knows what he wants. And
but I wouldn't say that makes him a nice person. I would say that makes him good at pretending to be a nice person.
He is a nice person because I saw him also with his daughter and with his family, and he is a really nice person. But he is not able, at least he was not able, to really be a good employer. He was not able to communicate well with his employees. He didn't treat them as people. I wasn't treated as a person there. I was never treated. There were some rare moments where we sat down and we actually talked on one level. And those moments, I remember those moments because they were so rare, and I cherished them. I cherished those moments because I didn't feel like a loser. I didn't feel like I did do everything wrong all the time. And I also remember the times where he wasn't there because he was on work trips. And I liked that time too because I got a lot of things done. I worked a lot. I did a lot of projects on my own. And I felt that felt really good. But that again got overshadowed by him telling me that I'm a failure, that I would never be able to work in that field, and many more things. And he also offered me a job afterwards.
So backwards.
Which I really appreciated that. But I also know that he needed someone because he had a lot of projects going on, and he wanted to take like he wanted me to take on the little ones that are not super worth his time, basically. And it would have been nice for the project, but I said no. At this point, I was done with it, and I needed to check that off. I knew if I stayed in that relationship whatsoever, even though it would only be over phone or once in a while seeing him, I knew it was not good for me.
Yeah.
But that the whole thing followed me, and it still followed. I still dream sometimes of the whole thing.
Me too.
And now it doesn't feel as bad anymore, but I don't know. The thing is, back then I couldn't really describe what it was, but it was anxiety. I was so anxious all the time. I loved the weekends because I knew I wouldn't see him for 2-3 days. And I dreaded the Mondays where I needed to go back to work. And usually I remember every morning I was sitting in there drinking coffee, and I was dreading the time when he was there. Only because I was fearing what's the next thing that he was throwing at me or screaming at me or just, I was loving the days where we got like some customers coming in or other working people, because then at least I knew that he was not as hostile towards me. But yeah, it was not an easy time, and I was forced to be in there. I could have said at some point, like the other person, I could have said, okay, I'm done with it. I'm trying to find something else. But it was really hard to find something on short notice. And also at that point, I didn't want to go somewhere else. So I needed something close. And yeah, I stayed in it for 3 months, and I pushed through it. And looking back at it, I'm glad I did it, but I probably would not do it again, even though the projects and some of the experiences were really nice, but the whole thing did a lot of shit with me.
See, with mine, I don't think I had any really nice experiences, at least with him around. There's 0 nice moments I had with him, like not a single one.
Yeah, that's why I said it was super rare, and that's why I still remember them. But the one thing I have to say I noticed about myself being in that situation is that I had toxic tendencies towards my previous girlfriends in a lot of ways, where I don't know, especially with my second girlfriend, I had a hard time breaking up with her because I was in the hospital, and I didn't feel right at the time, but I knew that I'm going to break up with her because I knew it wasn't working anymore. And so at that time I was basically waiting for me to be out of the hospital, which is so stupid. It sounds so stupid, but I was basically waiting that I was out of the hospital and feeling a little better to break up with her. Not that I used her in that way, but I made her feel like I don't know. I did a lot of stuff. I said a lot of stuff that was not really nice, and I basically pushed her away in a lot of ways. And that it's funny because the whole how shitty the whole I don't know, maybe it was karma. But I don't know, the whole experience with the boss and with the internship made me realize that there is a tendency in myself treating people, close people, in a very hostile way. And I'm still trying to be aware of that stuff, and I'm trying to get rid of that stuff too.
The thing is, I think that everybody has toxic tendencies. I think when you read like lists of what to look out for in a toxic relationship, I think everybody can relate to at least one thing in that list. And just because you relate to that one thing doesn't mean that you are a toxic person. It just means that you might have a tendency that can become toxic.
Yeah.
And it's because I don't think there's a single person in the world who doesn't have a toxic tendency.
No, sure.
It's just, we're human.
No,
and
that's true.
But I think it's if you are able to recognize that in yourself.
Yeah.
And if you don't recognize that in yourself or refuse to, then yes, that might make you more of a toxic person.
I think the whole...
But if you recognize it and try to figure out, okay, how can I change this because I don't want to be this way, then I think that's where there's like a turning point.
I mean, that's exactly what I'm saying. The whole internship made me realize, okay, I don't want to be that person. I never want to be someone who looks down on people or tell them that they're not doing a great job.
Yeah. I think on my side of it was really hard for me because I mean, already working in Austria was really difficult for me because of the language barrier. And I came from, in the US, a really great job. I had a great job. But I was kind of my own boss at the same time. And so that was nice. But when I came here, it's like I started out with a really shitty job. I loved what I was doing. I was an au pair, but I did not get along with the family, and it was really difficult. And then the second family was great. That was awesome. But then my next job experience was also not great with the boss. And what I learned is that I was kind of put in the position for the first time where you realize that there are a lot of men who are in power who need to have...
That is a big thing.
They need to have power over you. If they're your employer, they have to have power over you. And there's like this complex. And I had never truly experienced that because most of my bosses in my life have been female, which I appreciate.
I mean, that's what you said in the beginning. It's a narcissistic tendency. But yeah, it's true. A lot of men in power are like that. Yeah. And they became like that because they are narcissists.
Yeah. And so I think that was really hard. And so because the majority of my experiences of work in Austria have been more negative, with the exception of one, I was so scared looking for a new job because I was like, what's going to happen? It's most likely going to be a male boss wherever I work. And I found this job and I'm super, super grateful for it because I finally feel like I'm in an environment where your boss treats you not only like a person, but values your opinion, values your time. And what I learned about myself from the whole experience is that when I'm in a job that I don't like, or with a boss, even if I like the job, but the boss makes the environment toxic, my work ethic goes down the tubes.
Sure. Obviously, if you don't like what you do, or if you don't like being there, you don't really work well.
I will give him this. By the end of it, I may have fired me too. I mean, I still massage. I was on time all the time. I massaged my patients. I was nice to my patients or my customers. I was super nice to them and kind, but I was not kind to him. I was not mean to him, but I also didn't really engage in conversation with him. I would say good morning. I'd smile when I got there. Yeah. But there was zero conversation. And so for that, I mean, totally. But I needed that. I needed to pull back because I was being so dragged into this toxicity that it was an awful place to be.
I mean, that brings me to the whole point of just quickly going through a little things that you can do to get out of toxic relationships. And the big thing is just to realize that you are in one. Sometimes it's not that easy to just realize and to make yourself also believe that you are in a relationship, in a toxic relationship. Because sometimes you think like those things we already said, like, okay, he's putting in the work or she's putting in the work or they are putting in the work, but it's not showing as much because blah, blah, they have so much other stuff to do, or he's just screaming at me because I did something wrong, and he's not showing me as much love because blah, 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 you know, all that stuff.
Don't make excuses for the other person.
Right. And again, we preached it all the time. I mean, a relationship is something you both should take and give. And you should pull together on one string. And some people are not in a place to be in a long-term relationship or in a serious relationship. Some people may never be in the place because of how they are and how they developed and how they maybe stopped developing. And some people may not be that mature at that point of their life to be in a relationship, but letting out that toxicity towards you makes them feel power and standing over you, and they use you basically. They just use you.
But I also want to make the point that not all toxic relationships look the same.
No.
And our experiences are very similar, where it's a very power hungry kind of like I'm in charge, and so I'm gonna, you know,
I mean, that's
look down on you.
Yeah,
but there are also toxic relationships that look completely different, where the person just takes you for granted. And they might not be mean to you, they might not put you down, but maybe they don't trust you when there's zero reason to not trust you, or they're constantly looking through your
controlling,
phone, or they don't let you have like alone time if you need alone time, or they make you feel bad for taking time for yourself, or make you feel bad for decisions that you make
or
that don't include them.
Or
that can also be a toxic relationship. It doesn't have to be necessarily demeaning towards you, but it can be where they need to be the focus all the time and that you're never the focus.
But I think a good thing is to realize that you are in one. If you're in one, then maybe try to figure out why. So what does that person give me, or what do I need from the person that I'm in there? Sometimes that question is easy to answer. Sometimes it's not so easy. What do
you mean by that? That
for
was a little unclear.
For example, do I need to be in there because I need to work? Do I need to be in that relationship to get love from the person, to feel loved?
What about this relationship? What am I getting from it that makes me stay?
Right. Is it like a tendency about myself that I'm drawn to people like that? Stuff like that. Because it's always easier to find the root cause of being in a relationship like that and then to act on that. And then, of course, surround yourself with people that are completely different, that are the complete opposite of that they cherish you, that they like you, that they encourage you in the way you are, because you are enough. You don't have to change only because a person tells you that you're not enough or that you have to change. And then, of course, try to get out of the relationship. And sometimes it's as fast as, okay, I'm out of that because I don't need it. Or sometimes it's, okay, I'm gradually trying to find a new job, or, you know, or maybe studying something on the side while still working there, and then get stuff like that. There are a lot of ways how to do it. And of course, with a family member, it's sometimes harder, but there are also ways, because you can just be upfront with them. You can say, hey, I'm sorry, but it doesn't work with me. I'm done with it. And that's fine too. And if they don't realize, or if they don't see that that it's not, I don't know, it's not worth the time, whatever, then they, don't care anyways.
Yeah.
Or maybe they change and they maybe try to put the effort in and try to change. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It's been a long episode. I think we should stop at this point.
Okay.
There are a lot of other things to say. I don't know if you have something to add.
No, I would just say that don't forget to put yourself first sometimes.
Yeah.
And especially if it's a romantic relationship, if you notice those tendencies in your partner or in yourself, that you have a conversation with your partner, because obviously it doesn't have to be, we're done. You know, it can be a conversation first. Right. You know, we always talk about communication. But you also deserve to be in a relationship or to have a relationship with a family member or a boss or whatever that makes you feel good. And it's not asking for the world to have that kind of relationship, like have a good relationship and not a toxic one.
I agree.
So don't keep yourself in a toxic relationship just because you feel like it's your only option, because it's not.
Yeah. And also sometimes if you have been in that relationship a longer time, you already should know if that person is willing to change or willing to put in an effort. Yeah. And if it's been 2-3 years and you have noticed no change at all, then yeah, maybe that's a sign to step away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Just
I mean, I could talk for hours about toxic relationships.
Yeah. But I would totally be interested in your opinion if you have, if you are in a toxic relationship, or if you have experience with it. I would totally love to maybe talk a little bit about it. Hit us up on our Instagram at Translating Love Podcast or on our website, and I would totally like to engage in a conversation. You can also send us a message on anchor.fm/translating-love.
And if you feel like you have good insight to this topic, because I do think it's a big topic, it's hard to cover it in a short period of time.
Yeah.
If you feel like you have good insight that maybe you'd want to share, also hit us up, because maybe we could collaborate on a part 2 of this episode and you can be a guest.
Right.
So let us know what you think.
Other than that, just again, please share the podcast if you like what you hear. That's the only thing we really ask. And yeah, other than that, thank you for listening, for your support.
And I also personally ask, please wear a mask, wash your hands, stay home if it's not absolutely necessary to go out.
The obvious. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye. Welcome back to a brand new episode of Translating Love. I'm Dani.
I'm Mickey. Oh boy.
Hey Mickey, you're so fun. You're so fun. You blow my mind. Hey Mickey.
Hey Mickey.
Okay. No, you can't do much more. Don't we have to pay for it?
Oh yeah. We're back with a new episode, everybody, and this is just a singing episode, everybody. We're gonna sing the whole thing.
And then nobody listens.
No, we're back with a new episode. It's the third time I said it, and it's the last time I said it.
Okay.
I
don't believe it, but okay.
But just before we start,
what? The new episode? You almost said it.
I didn't. Before we start, I just want to say thank you for everyone who listens, who keeps listening, and please, please, please. I know we say it at the end of every episode. Please keep sharing the podcast. It helps us a lot, and especially in these times where everybody's like super, everywhere else with COVID and work and all this shit that's going on in the world right now. People forget that they keep listening to things, and so, they have to get reminded.
Yep.
And by doing that, like by sharing the podcast, if you like it, obviously, it helps us a lot. And also it helps us to grow our audience a little bit more.
Please don't share it and say how shitty it is if you don't like it.
You really shouldn't listen to those two people. They're so full of shit. I don't agree with their opinion, and I really don't like them. I mean, it's fine, and you can share it like that, obviously. But
yeah, okay. Yeah. Let's get started.
So just quickly before we start into the episode, I didn't say new. There's another lockdown happening in Austria.
Yes, there is.
And we're on top of, we are like the worst country to be in right now with COVID, because the numbers are compared to the people who live in the country, the highest in the whole world. So yeah, we went from, we mastered COVID to what is COVID? Yeah, it's pretty fucked right now.
It's because Austrians are super stubborn people.
I mean, I think it's a general thing almost everywhere that
No, sure.
People are like, I'm so over COVID.
Yeah, but at the same time, I have not seen it like or heard of it as much from like my friends who live other places.
That's true.
The way that people are here.
I mean, Austrians complain all the time about
and they're
shit.
really stubborn. You literally have to tell them what to do. Like, you have to put a rule in place.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they won't just do it on their own.
Yeah.
If you say it's fine to not wear a mask anymore if you don't want to, then they won't. Yeah. Even if it's the right thing to do, they won't.
That makes me think how they're still alive.
The majority. I'm not speaking for all.
You would think you need to tell them to breathe. Like, you make it mandatory to breathe. And now breathe in. And now breathe out. So...
Yeah, it's really obnoxious. And people keep meeting and like hanging out with each other and having little parties and weddings. And it's just super frustrating.
Oh, man.
So yeah, we're in second lockdown. Everything's basically closing. My work is not closing because I work in a doctor's office.
And I'm still just sitting at home working.
Yeah. So I'm a little stressed, honestly, because the numbers are so high and I'm doing massage and like physical therapy type stuff.
A lot of people like ask on Instagram and Facebook right now, what is like your goal in the second lockdown, or if you have like a mantra or something like that. And I thought about it, and mine is just like being more mindful of myself and of how I am, like how my body and my psyche reacts to all the shit that's going on. Because I've noticed that I've been super anxious the last couple of days. And today, where I finally realized that today is like the first day where I've been chill, mostly. And so, yeah, I'm trying to be more mindful and just trying to be more zen.
It's not possible for me right now.
It is.
When you have to literally touch like 50 people a day.
I mean, I get that.
That's really
I get that.
stressful.
But still, you can do some things to work against it, like yoga, some meditation, chilling, taking a bath, stuff like that, Yeah. Or giving each other massages.
Let's get into the topic.
Because we thought it's an interesting topic and we have both some things to say about it. We're talking about toxic relationships today. Mm-hmm. Let's just quickly go into what the toxic relationship is.
I mean, I don't know how you would describe it.
Just try to describe it.
I think for everybody it's different.
No, it is different, but I think there's a sense of different aspects that...
Yeah, then what do you think? If you seem to have a clearer...
A toxic relationship is usually a relationship that takes and doesn't give. So in any way, if it's a work relationship or like a friendship or a romantic relationship, whatever, usually that's like a big thing that person doesn't give, it only takes. Mm-hmm. And it makes you feel that. The person makes you feel that. That's like a big thing. Another big thing is that they are the center and you're always like on the outside,
like an afterthought.
You're an afterthought. You're not their priority. Usually the thing is we're usually drawn to toxic relationships. Like in romantic situations, you're drawn to a certain personality, especially when you're younger, and you just keep getting stuck with people, the same people or similar people who use you in a way. But like in a work relationship or like with family and stuff, you kind of stuck with them because either it's family. I mean, even though family doesn't mean you have to be in contact with them, or like work because you feel like, okay, you need that work or whatever. Like there is something that you need from that person in every situation. And that's why you stay with them. And then of course, there's a lot of self-conscious things that make you believe like you're not enough, or that person is totally fine, how they treat you. You deserve to be treated like that, stuff like that. That makes it incredible hard to realize that you are in a toxic relationship. And of course, the another fact is like...
Well, I mean, you also get comfortable at some point, depending on the relationship, obviously. I mean, if it's a work relationship, sometimes you feel stuck because you don't want to... If it's a person who's higher up than you or who could fire you, you obviously don't want to lose your job.
Right. Yeah.
Or if it's a family member, you go back to, oh, but this is family. We're going to have to see them more often because of this or that, or, family gatherings or whatever. And that's awkward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it's a romantic relationship, I think you just get comfortable like you do often in relationships. And
sure.
so you might still love the person, but you're scared to like leave the relationship or
for
scared to be on
example,
your
or
own.
you have this thought like, okay, at some point maybe they turn around, at some point maybe they love me the way I do, or stuff like that, where you put so much work and energy into it, even though nothing comes out and nothing will ever.
Like you're trying to fix them, basically.
Yeah, and you can see there's no effort from the other side. As I said, they only take but not give at all. And a lot of other things, like, for example, physical or mental harm. That's also a sign for toxic relationships. The physical is mostly hopefully not, but mostly in probably romantic relationships, I assume. Even though I've heard people get hit from their boss. I've heard about that, and that's scary as shit.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if a person, and that's also a big thing, I have experienced that people talk down to you, make you only see your failures, what you're not capable of doing, apparently, that you're not enough, that you do things constantly wrong. They don't accept the no. Then they make you feel that, because if you say no to something, or if you don't agree with their whatever thing they believe in, you're wrong. There are a lot of things that can describe a toxic relationship. Yeah, let's go into our toxic relationship experience. Mm-hmm. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll start.
Okay.
The one I have two, but the one I'm going to give detail about is my old boss, because the other one is more relevant, but is a family member. So yeah, I don't want to go into that one because it's family, just on that off chance, But the other one is my old boss. In Austria, when I studied massage therapy here in Austria, and then after the schooling part, you have to do an internship, like 730 hours or something of internship.
Unpaid, by the way.
Unpaid 730 hours of an unpaid massage internship.
Yeah, so basically 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
You worked
I worked about 40 hours a week.
Real employee, and you don't get paid anything.
And you massage a lot.
Yeah.
It's very
demanding
on your body. But yeah, so unpaid. And I found this job that was really close to home. So I was super excited because I could walk there. That also meant I could work more hours and get the most out of it. So I'm not wasting, 2 hours commute every day.
Yeah. It was just convenient, and it sounded...
super convenient. Well, and he was very nice in the interview.
That's typical.
I will say he was very, very nice in the interview. Yeah. I explained to him that at that point I didn't have a driver's license here. And he never told me that there were massages outside of the studio. So he said everything's done in-house. That's actually what he told me. Everything is done in-house. So he said that's no problem. And then I also told him we had already, by the time I got the internship, we had already planned a vacation. And this was before I even was looking for an internship, that we planned it.
Yeah.
And so I asked him if that would be okay. It was still months away. And he said, yeah, that's no problem. Totally fine. Super nice. I was really excited to start there. And then the first day I get there, he throws me into my first massage, and he didn't even tell me. This is just a brief outline of him, but he didn't even tell me that I had a massage on my first day. And he was already massaging when I got there. So it was a coworker that I had not yet met who came up to me and said, oh, you have a massage in that room right now. And this is I'm just coming out of school. I'm terrified. I don't speak the language as well. I speak it well, but not as well as I do now. And now I have to go talk with this person and massage. And I was I have no idea what to do. So I massaged her the only way I knew how. She had neck problems or something. And so I did shoulder and neck. And then at the end, she had a headache.
That's common.
And my boss then got very mad at me on my first day. I don't know if you remember, I was crying when I came home because I felt so awful.
Yeah.
he was very mad at me because he was like, did you massage her shoulders and her neck? And I was like, yeah, sure. That's where she said it hurt.
Yeah.
And it's not like I'm massaging super hard. I know that can cause headaches, but it was more so with her. He got super pissed at me. He was like, you have to come and talk to me before you massage people and blah, 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 which he never told me. It was like basically the start of our relationship.
It's like he schedules you for a massage and then he's like, you have to talk to me first before you massage people.
Right. And that is like the perfect like example of how our relationship continued, because he constantly expected things of me without telling me what he expected until after I messed up. Yeah. And that was very frustrating. And he never once watched me massage anybody. Mm-hmm. I did 6 months of interning with him, and not once, every single day, and not once did he watch me massage somebody. Yeah. And also not once did he say, hey, you want to come and watch me massage somebody so you can learn something because you're an intern and that's what we're supposed to do? Not once. Mm-hmm. He was in it for the free labor. Yeah. And then he would be very rude to the females who worked for him. We were mostly females. But there was one guy who worked for him and he was best friends with him. And he constantly let him like watch things and would say, hey, do you want to come? I have this really cool massage that I'm doing. Do you want to come and watch and learn something? And about halfway through my internship, another male came. Same thing, right from the start, day one. Yeah.
So he was very drawn to the dick.
Because he was one. He was really awful. And there was one time where he constantly made me feel bad. There were multiple times where he told me that I was not good at my job. Yeah. Even though he has never seen me massage anybody. And even though my patients or my customers at that point would always say how great it was. And they always complimented me. And they always said that was a really...
Wait. How did they say that? Did they say it like, oh, it was so good? Or did they say, oh, it was really good, thank you?
No, I had a compliment once from a guy who went to rehab for our German Austrian friends Kur, where he did the 3 weeks of the rehab thing, where you get a lot of massages. Mm-hmm. And he said, I have done that 3 times. So 3 weeks, 3 times. So in the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. And he said, never have I had a massage that was that good. Yeah. That's a great compliment.
I remember you got a lot of really good, great compliments, and your customers were satisfied, and people actually demanded you a lot. Like they said, I want her to massage me.
Not as much there because he didn't give me a lot of massages.
No, but from the people.
But from the people who said things like that, they always wanted to come back, and that's true. Mm-hmm.
But that's what I said. That's a big point. That person basically looks down on you, tells you all the flaws, the thing is, we're all humans, so we all make mistakes, so we all learn, we all try to get better. And especially in a job where you just are new in it and you learn still, it's super, first of all, it's wrong. It's on so many levels wrong to tell a person who learns and studies her ass off for something and then tell her that she's not good in that.
Yep.
He told me
that I should think about finding a new job. Right. Or finding a new career
That's
path.
The worst thing you can do to a person.
I'm literally there to learn.
Right.
And you're not teaching me.
And again, everyone is different and everyone learns in a different way. And I'm sure you make mistakes, and I've made mistakes in so many ways, but you learn from them and you try to get better. Yeah. And especially if you don't have any insight like he did and tell you that's like just the worst dick move ever.
But I mean, I'll try to just condense the rest of it, but basically that was our relationship where he constantly put me down. He also did it with the other people who worked there. It wasn't just me. But he would do things like, I'm there as an intern for massage therapy, and he would say things like, I need you to go down. No, he never asked. It was just, go down to the bakery. I need something sweet because my blood sugar's low.
I need an intern like that.
And it's like, if you don't do it, I was afraid of him, you know?
You do. That's what I said. You can't say no. Yeah.
And even though it felt demeaning, it felt, you can ask me. Mm-hmm. If you asked me, I would probably be like, yeah, sure, no problem. I have nothing to do right now. Yeah. And the bakery's right down the street, no problem. But it was so frustrating. And we also started like my second week or so, he was like scheduling me all of it. I look in the schedule and it says that I'm like out of house basically. So I'm like in Linz, or I'm doing this. And I'm like, what is he talking about? And then I told him hey, I don't have a car. And there was a company car, but I didn't know how to drive manual. I was like, I don't have a license here. I can't really drive.
Do you know how to drive manual now?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
And then he again got pissed at me. And then he was like, okay, well then you have to take the
Rightly
bus.
so. I mean, come on.
Even though we talked about it in the interview.
You told him that you can't drive, so he got mad at you
Yeah.
because you told him before.
He also then then I started taking the bus every time, and he would get mad at me when I had to leave an hour earlier than scheduled to be there because I had to take the bus to get there. And
Oh, man.
yeah, it was bad. And then he got mad at me when my vacation came up because he forgot, even though I put it in the system on my first day. And he forgot about it and was like, why are you not here for 2 weeks? I was like, I mean, we talked about this in the interview. He's like, no, we didn't.
What were we in Montenegro, right?
Yeah.
That was the time in Montenegro.
Yeah. And then towards the end, he got even more dickier and just mean. And he did this thing where if you were sitting down and if you like made a mistake in the computer, which I did a lot because it was all in German and I didn't understand most of it. And again, something he never taught me. So I'm just trying to figure it out when I'm there. And if I like made a mistake of like how I put somebody's info in or something, he would come into the break room when I'm sitting there, stand over me. So I literally cannot stand up because he has to be taller. He has to be bigger. And just literally look down on me while he's telling me the mistake I made. And if I tried to get up to say, hey, can we go to the computer so you can show me how to do it? I literally couldn't stand up. I was cornered.
Really?
And
Wow.
at one point, this is the thing I still think about very frequently, unfortunately. But there was one time where he showed me how to do some massage technique that he showed me and this other girl that I work with. So she was on the table and he was showing me how to do it. But what happened is my hand was basically in the wrong position, but just because it was like that, not on purpose. And he kept slapping my hand. So I'm literally moving my arm on this person. He's slapping my hand. And it's not just like a tap, which I also think is inappropriate. Even a tap is inappropriate. He could just say, your hand is not in the right position. But he slapped my hand like hard multiple times and thought it was okay. And for me, that was a very...
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was a rough...
And then he fired you while you were on...
And then he fired me while I was on doctor's leave because I had an injury in my thumb because of how much he overworked us.
Yeah.
We would have 9 hours a day I would be there, 8 or 9 hours a day.
Constant massages.
Constant massages, no breaks in between. Of course, you're going to get a problem in your hands. And then he fired me because I came back with a doctor's note saying, hey, I can't massage for the next week because of how much you overwork me. And then he fired me. That was after my internship. I started working there after my internship because I needed a job.
What a great guy.
Yeah, it was really shitty. And I think the worst thing about that relationship is that I still think about it.
Yeah, that's common.
And there are things that still bother me, even though it was over a year ago now. And there are really things that still get to me. And when I was going on job interviews for a new job, I was terrified. Like, what if the boss is just like him, you know? And I really lucked out because I have an amazing boss. And I also have gained more confidence in my abilities working where I work because legit patients are actually now requesting to have me as their massage therapist. And it feels so good to be like reassured.
I think the only thing that you can learn from a toxic or one of the only, I mean, there are not that many things I think you should learn from a toxic relationship, but one of the things is that you don't need those people in your life and you can say no to those people, and you can also erase them from your life, and you should in many ways.
I think if it's a boss, it's a little harder, but you can always search for a new job.
It's hard, but there's always a way out, always.
Yeah.
And another thing is that just believe in the opposite they say. Yeah.
Yeah, when he fired me, he sat me down and we were talking. He was like, I have to let you go. And he was telling me things like, he also didn't like that I was vegan. And he made that a point while he was firing me. He literally, I almost laughed in his face because it's so ridiculous. But he was like, I don't feel like I feel like we don't have a good like energy together, basically. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, because it doesn't work. And he basically read it as I have a bad energy.
Mm-hmm.
But for me,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was, I was so pulled back from him that
common.
of course he would feel that because I don't like being there. So of course there's a bad energy there.
But also, I mean, he makes it so toxic there, so obviously.
Right.
And also, I mean, a lot of people run away
Well,
from
and
that
he
job.
yells at his employees in front of
Right.
his customers.
Right.
And that's also super uncomfortable.
Right.
And yeah, it was just not a good place. And when he was firing me, he told me, and maybe you really should think about, he said, I really want you to think about maybe a new career path. Maybe there's something that fits better for you. Maybe.
I remember one time I mean, I saw him 3 times maybe, but one time I talked to him and I was like, yeah, I'm just started to be self-employed, or I was just thinking about it, something like that. It was pretty early.
It was pretty early.
And he was, it was like in the first half year. So it was pretty new. And he was like, oh man, when I learned one thing from being self-employed, I would never do it again. Super encouraging. Like,
well, he's a very negative person.
Oh, man.
Even while he was massaging people, a lot of people complained and said they didn't want to be massaged by him anymore because he literally talks about how shitty things are for him while he's massaging you, and he talks so much shit.
The thing is, I don't want to judge that person because
do.
I don't know him that well, and I don't know his story, and people become that because of a lot of issues.
Sure, but at the same time, if you choose a career like massage therapy,
No. That's what I'm saying.
It's so unprofessional.
But in any way, it is unprofessional. But if you have employees, if you have people, and it's the same if you're in a relationship. If you can't be a good employer, if you can't be in a relationship because you use the other person, you maybe should question your ways, because there's something wrong with the way how you handle the people around you. But let's get into my thing. But before that, let's take a quick break.